Hello and welcome back to my channel. In this one I'm going to be working with a piece of driftwood which I found back in 2017 in May, so almost 8 years ago. I found it on Praa Sands Beach down in Cornwall, and one of the pieces that I uncovered during the move that I had cut and stored away is this bit we're going to look at here and see what I can turn from it. As I said, this piece has been stored for nearly 8 years since I brought it back from the beach. Here's some footage from back in 2017 with me hacking it up on the beach, which was quite fun to do. I ended up cutting quite a few of them into blanks on the beach, mainly because where they were on the beach was quite a long walk back to the van. Cutting them into smaller pieces made it a lot easier to carry. So as I took this one to the bandsaw, which is a upgraded machine from what I had in the old workshop, it is a little bit bigger capacity. It still wasn't quite big enough for this blank, so I had to leave a corner on, but I have a bit of a plan for when that becomes more problematic later on. Thankfully it just had enough clearance, even with that slight off balance, which, as you can see by my face, I'm slightly nervous about, but I'm fairly confident in the capability of my Graduate, and here we go, first cuts with an off balance blank. Bit wobbly on the first cut, but as I start and take a bit of the uneven weight out of it and get into the shaping, it does calm down quite a lot, and the lathe's not moving so much now, and I can speed it up a bit as I get through and remove a bit more weight. And then in a moment we'll see where the corner starts to be a bit problematic because it's sticking out so far and it's hard to get a clean cut with it only coming round for a tiny bit. So I pull out a little electric planer which I picked up at Lidl's, good old Parkside. It's actually really handy, little 12 volt electric planer, cordless, and really good for just shaping up a little edge and allowing me to carry on cutting and not have to buy an even bigger bandsaw for the time being. My next issue was I felt like my chisel was getting blunt really quickly, and upon a bit more deeper inspection, the blank actually had little voids that were full of sand. Where that sand came from, who knows? With it being driftwood, could have come from anywhere, but there was lots of little pockets of this as I start working through, and many times I had to stop and both sharpen the chisel and dig out as much sand as I could and keep ploughing through. So it took a bit longer than I had hoped, but that's often the case with bits of driftwood, as I've worked with many in the past. And also it's a bit like working with root balls. They've often got lumps of rock and stone in there and gritty soil, which is great for blunting chisels. Quite a bit more taking off that corner with the planer, mixed with digging out sand and sharpening chisels, and we're starting to get close to an outside shape now. Don't forget to like and subscribe, it's free and it really helps encourage me to make more content. I'd love to hear in the comments what you think this wood might actually be. I've not been able to accurately identify it. Being driftwood, it could have come from anywhere. It could have spent years floating around from beach to beach, which I quite enjoy the thought of that, especially when I'm working on a piece like this. But yeah, I'd love to hear where you think it might have come from, what wood you think it might be, and leave a comment below, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Really did take me a lot longer to finish the outside of this than I anticipated, with many chisel sharpenings and sand excavation moments along the way, but finally I've got to a shape I'm fairly happy with on the outside here, and a bit more digging out before I make my final finishing cut with a nice sharpened chisel. Mortise all cut and ready for sanding, and then a quick clean up in the workshop. Time to start hollowing, and first few cuts it started behaving a lot nicer than on the outside, being slightly further into the wood. There felt like there was a little bit less sand going on the hollowing side of this one. Working down into the bottom of this one now, and it's still behaving pretty well. Trying to think more about what the wood could be. It's got some similarities to Alder if I had to liken it to something I've worked with before. Similar colouring and quite a similar grain patterning to it, although it does feel very dense, much denser than any Alder I've worked with personally. And obviously, I don't know how the sea will have affected it if it's been there for a long time. But I'd love to hear in the comments any suggestions on what wood you think it might be. At the end of the video, you'll get to see some nice polished and oiled shots of the grain, which might help identify it further. A little bit of the technical behind the scenes there. The tripod for the camera getting absolutely buried in shavings. So all hollowed out and got some lovely colouring in the grain there that I can't wait to get oil on, get it all sanded, and then the best bit of the video, putting on some lockskin hemp oil. Just pure natural hemp oil, no additives, it's super clean stuff, it soaks in really well, straight away on the first coat, and as you'll see, I'm putting a couple of coats on the inside and outside through this next bit, and you'll see the colour transform and get much darker and bring all the different grain variations out and make it even harder to guess what this is, because there's quite a bit of spalting in there too. So can really see how dry this wood is as it's soaking up the first coat immediately. I do sometimes wonder whether the seawater, as it's penetrated through the wood and then dried out, whether that salt changes the timber, which could mean it gets harder, or it certainly felt like it was blunting my chisel very quickly, and that would make sense, all the salt crystals and sand and things in there. And there we are, the finished bowl, and you can get a good look at the grain here. And please leave a comment, give me your ideas on what the wood might be. I'd love to try and solve this one, but being driftwood, it's potentially impossible to say for certain. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next one.